I'm Crystal of Crystal Sews and Stuff here on YouTube as well as on Instagram. Welcome back to the channel today. Welcome to all my new subscribers and all of the new viewers today. So today I wanted to share with you one of my biggest accomplishments of the year is sewing this plaid coat. So anyway, the pattern that I'm going to be reviewing is McCall's 7481. And I did view D right here. And I changed the pockets to go with view D, A and D on this one is Simplicity 8843. So this pattern is, this McCall's pattern is technically discontinued, but you can still get it on there on the McCall's website under the discontinued section. When they have a all pattern sale, including the discontinued ones, you can pick up this pattern. But it's a very, very basic pattern. There aren't very many pattern pieces. There is the front pieces, the sleeve pieces, a hood piece that's cut double. You have different versions for pockets, and then there is a facing piece. And then the original directions, they have you just cut out the front, the back, and the sleeves as well as the hood twice to cut it out again in the lining fabric. But I wanted to change up my pattern. So what I did was, I'll show a quick clip of all the changes that I made in order to create my own, to change the facing pieces as well as to redraft the lining pieces. So here's the clip. So in order to draft the lining, you have to use your facings. So the original facing for this pattern was this one long strip, this piece number 6. And so it would only come up to the top right here. So but I decided I wanted it to be extended towards the back in line with some of my ready to wear coats. And so what I did was I widened it a little bit. I made it 3 inches wide. I went and made it wider here as well as up here. And then I added the seam line, 5/8 inch seam allowances in order to draft the facing, the front facing. And then the pattern did not come with a back facing, so I had to draft a back facing, and I based it off of the main facing piece, the main, back piece. So what you do is you draw a curve of how wide you want your facing. So I made my facing 3 inches wide, and then I added 5/8 inch to the top and to the bottom in order to draft the facing. And I made sure everything was trued up so it will match all the way around. So that's how I redrafted the facings. And the next thing in order to draft the line is you have to use the facings that you drafted. So for the front facing, you take your front pattern piece, you take the front pattern piece, and then you put on the front facing piece, and what's left, this section right here, becomes your front lining piece. And so this is my front lining piece now, after I took away the front facing piece. And so the next thing you do is add in 1 1/4 seam allowance to I think it's for turn of cloth or something like that. That's what they call it. But either way, you have to double the seam allowance, which makes it 1 1/4 inches. So that's what you add to the section that connects to the facing. And then on the other side, you add your 5/8 inch seam allowance. In addition to that, you also add another 1/2 inch right here to the armhole piece. So you have some ease in the armhole area. So that is what I did for the front facing piece, and then I made it 2 inches shorter than my finished hem length that I wanted. And so for the back piece, you pretty much do the same thing. Is you take your back pattern piece, and then the rest of this is your lining piece. So you subtract that out, and then you also add in, your 1 1/4 seam allowance to the side that attaches to the facing piece. And then the extra step that you have to do is to add a 1-inch pleat. So this is a 1-inch pleat, because this is the center back, this line right here. And then I added another inch here to make a 1-inch pleat for ease of movement in the back. And then also added another 1/2 inch to the armhole area for ease in the armhole area. And then I also cut off 2 inches for the hem in order to bag out the lining. And then the last piece that I changed the lining to was the sleeve piece. And so it's basically the same pattern piece as the regular sleeve, but you add again 1/2 inch to the sides, again for ease in the lining area. And you also make the sleeve hem 2 inches shorter than your final sleeve length. Or you can make it the same length and then decide if you want to shorten it later. So that's how I drafted all of the lining pieces, except for the hood. The hood I just traced out, you know, just repeated the hood pattern twice. I didn't make any extra changes to the hood lining piece. So those are the changes. Okay, so those are all the changes that I made to the facing and to redraft the lining pieces. And this is what it looks like on the inside. So on the inside is, here's the lining piece going down this way. And then I drafted a back, and at first it would only have gone just to this section right here, wouldn't have curved all the way back, but I decided to have it curve all the way back to be more in line with some of the coats that I have, ready to wear coats that I have at home. And then I drafted a back facing piece here, added my little label, and so that's how the inside of the facing pieces are. And then to the lining I also added a pocket. I used the pocket from the original pattern to make my my inside pocket, because I just think it's not fair that women's coats don't usually come with inside pockets. But anyway, that's my own little thing. So anyway, I forgot to tell you about the fabric. The fabric that I used is this memory raincoat fabric from Minerva, and I'll leave a link to the fabric below. And I received this fabric in exchange for a blog post. So that's what I used for the main fabric. And then for the lining fabric, I used a really pretty satin, polyester satin that I picked up from Joann's, and I've had it in my stash forever. And the buttons are from Daytona Trimmings in New York City. And I picked these up when I was in New York. And when I took Charles up to New York in August for his birthday. So these are the buttons. So I really like these little gold buttons. And I was debating on whether I wanted to keep the gold buttons or use black buttons to bring out the black. But my kids said, "No, Mom, I love with the gold buttons. So I stuck with the gold buttons, and I really like how it turned out. The original pattern calls for snaps. So you can see that there are snaps. You can't, they're hidden. But I decided to go with buttons because I was trying to do fabric covered snaps. But because, I don't know, the fabric is not like a wool, so it didn't stretch over too much to make the fabric covered snaps, because that's what I wanted to do at first. If I was going to do snaps, in case, you know, it opened out, I didn't want just the gold snap showing. But that was just my own little thing. So instead I decided to go with the buttons. So now the plaid matching, I do have a quick little couple of clips to show you what I did for the plaid matching. The main parts that I made sure were matched were the armhole notches, the side seams, and the seams on the hood. I made this one pattern piece so I didn't have to have a center back fold, but if I did, I would have had to match up the center piece if you want a back fold in it. So those are the main sections that I wanted to match up. So here's the quick clip of some of my pattern matching. So in order to match up the plaids, what I do, and this is what I learned in my sewing class, is you color in using colored pencils. And if you have the erasable kind, that's even better. But anyway, you take at where the notches are, you mark off the seam line right here. This is a 5/8 inch seam allowance, and then you color in the different colors on the seam line so that you can match it up to the other pattern pieces. So I do that here. This is the shoulder seam right here, and this is the shoulder notch, and then this over here, this is the side seam that matches to the front. And so I have, like, because it ends red, green, dark blue, white, dark blue, yellow, dark blue, and then red. So dark blue and then red. And so I matched this notch, the double notch here, along with the same thing on the front. And then I'm gonna also put the color here on the armhole, as well as on the front pieces. So that's how I keep all the keep everything lined up. So what I did, so this is the back piece, because this is my main piece, and it's supposed to be cut on the fold, but instead of it being on the fold, I doubled it. I doubled the whole piece. I folded it in half and cut it twice, and I matched up the center right here, and this way I'll have two big plaid sections evenly spaced on the back piece. And then like I said before, that's how I'll do side seams. And I'll take a quick picture of it after I have it all matched up. Okay, so for the sleeves, what I did was I laid the pattern piece out, the sleeve piece here, and then I lined it up with the notch here on the front piece, and then lined it up to make sure everything is going to come out even here. So now it's a perfect, well, I'm gonna move it a bit over. It's a perfect square. So that way the sleeve lines here all the way down will match up to the front pieces. So that's what I did for the sleeves. Okay, so for the hood, I did the same thing that I did for the front. Is I cut out one side of the hood, and then to match it, I'm laying it on top of the other piece of the main body of the fabric with the wrong side up, and then I'm gonna cut around the edge And I made sure all the lines were super exact in order to match up the hood. And for the center seam, I had it in this not the main bar. I had it in the secondary bar, so that the center will be this red, and then I'll have about 3 main bars in the hood. So that's what I did for the hood. So that was some of my pattern matching in real time while I was making this coat. And some of my tips for pattern matching are, first you have to figure out what type of plaid you have. This is a balanced uneven plaid, and I learned that by reading up on different books. And I have a video about my with some tips on sewing resources, especially when it comes to plaid and designing your own lining pieces. And if you can't get a chance, I'll leave a card right here for you to check out. So first you have to determine what type of plaid it is, because it helps you figure out how you want to handle the balance of your plaids. Like I wanted these two to be on the side, but I could have made it go, you know, I could have had this big main piece be in the middle and have it go the opposite way. And that's how I ended up having the red in the middle. So, excuse me. And so that's what I did. So you want to read up a little bit on how to balance, what's the best way to lay out your type of plaid. So this is what I decided to do to make sure. I wanted these two to be on the sides and then have the red in the middle, in the back, as well as in the front, so they all kind of blend together. So the next thing you want to make sure you do is that one main thing that you're matching is the seam line and not the cut line. So for example, and I showed this a little bit in my Instagram stories if you follow me there, and you should if you aren't. But anyway, this is the pocket. This is the pocket piece from the Simplicity pattern that I used. And what I did was I drew in 5/8 all the way around on all the sides, so I can know where the seam lines are, because this is the cutting line, but this is the seam line, and that's what you want to match up. So, and then I colored in using my colored pencils, which everybody, if you do plaid matching, colored pencils are so helpful. And you just, you know, you use your regular Crayola colored pencils or whatever brand you use, and the more colors the better, because so you can match it up more accurately, because this one has like a bright blue as well as a dark blue, and you want to make sure you match up the different colors on the seam lines so that your pattern will match up. So that's what I did, so I can make sure the flaps matched up to the main body of the front, where the, you know, the dots are for the pocket placement. So anyway, though, that's another tip that I have, is to make sure you use the seam lines to match things up, not the cutting lines, to match up your plaids. And also use color pencils, because that is super helpful. The other thing you want to make sure is when you cut out your pattern pieces, you have to cut it out flat, not fold it over, because you'll probably never be able to get it to all not shift around, because your fabric will probably shift around. So it's a lot easier for you to do it that way. And so another tip is when you cut out your front, I guess it depends on what kind of plaid you have, but for me, I cut out this whole front, took it over, and I laid it on another piece of the fabric and made sure that fabric matched up exactly with the other front piece. And so I would have done the same thing on the back had there been a center seam. I would have just mirrored take this piece and lay it on top of the fabric to make sure it all mirrors up. And that's what I did here on the hood. I just made sure each piece matched up perfectly. So let's see. And again, so I think that's all of my tips. So I did make changes. Like I said, I made changes to the I did add a back pleat also to the lining. I think I mentioned that. So this is a closer look of the back pleat in the back. So the back pleat is stitched down regular stitch length here, and then I basted it in to add more room here, and then I stitched it regular length again, and then opened it back up again, and then back again to regular length. That was one of the tips in the lining fabrics video. The video is called Underneath It All on Bluprint, and that was one of the tips from Linda Lee on Bluprint to help give you more movement in the back pieces. That video was the most helpful out of everything I watched. And but also check out the other resources. Rita's just flopping all over the place. So make sure you check out the resources, and check out that Underneath It All for drafting linings and construction, as well as Perfect Pattern Matching by Sarah Alm. But I learned the colored pencils technique from my sewing class. So make sure, and it's also in the book by Claire Schaefer. So this book by Claire Schaefer does give a little bit of information about using colored pencils and things to help you mark your fabric for matching. So the other thing that I did, I forgot to say, is that I interlined the whole thing, because this fabric is not warm in and of itself. What I did was I added a layer of warm and natural batting to the inside to make it warm, and all I did was cut out the main pieces in the batting, and then I used basting spray to put the underlining, the batting onto the main fabric. And you can also, some people do it the other way where they put it to the lining, but I wanted the whole coat to be kind of warm. And it's not the super warmest coat. It's like a medium warmth, and you can add more or less layers, and I just added one layer to it. And I'm just so in love with this coat, and I love the hood. So even though the hood piece, I wanted this to go the other way, and I planned it a little bit wrong, but I still like how it turned out. I wanted the stripes to go one big stripe in the middle. But anyway, it still looks great. I love how it turned out. And this fabric was very easy to work with. It's a polyester fabric, but and I just kept it on silk, I think, setting, and it pressed very well, and I just love how it turned out. Now let me show you some video, a quick clip of me wearing it, as well as some pictures of me outside posing for. Call it an all-weather coat because it's waterproof because it's made out of a raincoat fabric, and I interlined it so it's pretty warm. So I really love how this coat turned out. Was such a challenge for me, but I'm glad I just went for it and did it. This is about my second time working with plaid, and I never worked with these big giant plaids before, and so I'm just so happy with how everything turned out. And I do highly suggest this pattern. It's a really simple shape pattern. And you don't have to have exactly this pattern, but if you work with plaids, you don't want something with a whole bunch of seams because it'll be too much to match up. That's why I decided against this one, because this was a strong contender. And I also had bought a bomber jacket as well, and it had too many seams. And the more I thought about it, I just said, no, I can't do it. I'm gonna go with something simple. And so I went through all my patterns, and I saw this. I said, oh, it's not a lot of seams. This is perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. So that's why I decided to go with this one. And that's what you want to do is for working with plaids, you don't want something with a whole lot of seams. A lot of seams to it. So in order just to keep it simple. And let me tell you, when you're working with plaids, you just have to gear up all of your sewing courage to sew with plaids, because I placed everything out and everything, and then I laid it all out on the island, and I was about to cut it, and then I said, I can't do it. I can't do it. I gotta wait. So I waited another day, and I came back and looked at it and made sure, like triple duper check sure every little thing before I cut, because I was scared. I'm glad I went on ahead and sewed it up, but I did have to, you know, warm it up and good before I cut out the plaid. So I'm so happy with how everything turned out, and I just love this coat. I feel like I should wear it every day, even if I wear a purple outfit. I feel like I should just wear this every single day. Oops, I just dropped my water bottle. I feel like I should wear this every single day for the rest of my life, just because I put all this effort into it. But anyway, I hope you all are having a great time, and I'm enjoying seeing everybody's Vlogmas videos. I just don't have it in me to do Vlogmas just yet. Just because life. Anyway, but I have been enjoying everyone's Vlogmas videos, and I hope you all are having a great holiday season, and I look forward to seeing you all next time. If you have any questions or anything, please let me know in the comments, and let me know what you think about the jacket in the comments. And if you haven't already, please hit the like button and subscribe to see more videos of what's coming up next. So I do have a collaboration that I'm doing with a friend of mine coming up soon. So we're working on that together, and I think that's it. All right, so thank you so much for watching. I look forward to seeing you all next time. Take care.